Really? They abandoned him and they left him in the house for him to fend for himself. They didn't leave him money, so he had no resources. He had to do for himself. So this child is just totally left alone. And he then turned his attention to dead people because they couldn't leave him. They couldn't reject him. They couldn't get away from him. When he turned his, and I'm kind of trying to keep it as PG-13 as I can because of the kids in the room, he saw an obituary in the paper. He saw the obituary and it was an attractive young male. When he saw the obituary, he went to the funeral and he saw this man and he looked at him and he became excited. He knew he couldn't do anything there because of all the people that were there, so he went to the bathroom and took care of himself at the church where this person was being funeralized. So now you see the cycle of what's going on, and it wasn't overnight. It's something that started when he was young, when he saw all the things that were going on with his parents. Then he decided to pick up a hitchhiker. He picked up the hitchhiker, took him back to the house, and he decided, they were going to drink and listen to music. But the hitchhiker finally said, okay, I've had a good time, but I have to go. That again was rejection for him. So he ended up killing this hitchhiker, chopping up his body into many pieces and keeping it behind the house. July 22nd, 1991, skeletal remains and preserved body parts were found in an apartment. This man had killed 17 people, becoming one of the most notorious serial killers in the world. And this was Jeffrey Dahmer. He was a necromancer, and we know that necromancy is those who partake of dead people in a romantic way. He was a cannibal. He ate people because he felt like if I eat them, I'm internalizing them, and of course they can't leave me. He was just a very lonely person. And psychologists have proposed that if one person during his formative years would have said, you know what, let's be friends, Jeffrey. You need somebody to talk to. If a counselor has said, you know what, let's just talk. Let's just spend some time together. Somebody would have just embraced him. Not only would one life have been saved, but 18 lives would have been saved. Same with Ted Bundy. His life was like almost a mirror of his. He was lonely, abandoned by his parents. If one person had reached out to him, then the hundreds of women that died at his hand, we could have saved those 100 women because somebody would have reached out. So I believe that we have a responsibility not only to ourselves but to our children. And there are several things that I believe are a responsibility and the good part. We need to listen to our children. Our children are so full of knowledge. If you listen to them, sometimes they can say something like, where did they even come up with that? How did they come up with that? But their minds are just so young and so vibrant, and they're going through things, and they're learning things, and they're like sponges, and they're picking it up. And just talking to them, just sitting down and listening to them, what they have to say. And sometimes, you get tired. We're parents, we're human, we get tired. Sometimes my kids will pass their dad to come all the way in the room to me to say, can I have? And a lot of times I turn them back, but then I think about one of the reasons I asked God to allow me to work from home. And it was to be with my children because I was working at night, sleeping in the day. When I was off, I was cleaning and cooking. So when was I spending that time with my children? I wasn't. So I prayed and I asked God for that. So I had to be reminded. He reminds me, remember why you asked for that. So don't keep turning them away. So that's one thing we have to do. We have to listen to our children. And we have to take time to teach our children. In Deuteronomy 6, it says, teach them when they're sitting down, when they're getting up, when you're walking, when they're rising. There's not a time that teaching isn't going on. Teaching, and now they're talking about the law, but if we take it, yes, we're teaching our kids to fear and be reverent of God, but we have every moment is a teaching moment. We're in the store, and Soraya tells me loudly, this guy is right in front of us, Mom, you supposed to be sagging in here? I was like, ugh. But the guy pulled his pants up. So every moment is a teaching moment. So, I have to teach her discretion. She doesn't have a filter, so sometimes I have to say, maybe we gotta watch how we say things sometimes. But children are, like I said, sponges, and we have to teach them. And we teach them not only by what we say, but by what we do. Sometimes what we do is going to be more important than what we say, because we can say one thing and do another, and they'll say, I thought we weren't. Like, I speak to people when I'm walking. Soraya, I thought we weren't supposed to talk to strangers. I still don't have an answer for that because I don't know. But no, you're not supposed to talk to strangers. But you know, it's important that we teach them how we act. Sometimes I can get a little bit, just a tiny bit of road rage, just a little bit, you know, and then if I look behind, I can see me telling them, why'd you get over here? Then I can see like, yeah, stupid, why'd you get over here? I'm like, oh, okay, bring it down. Move side, bring it down. So we have to watch what we do and what we say as an example of teaching to our children. And I know there's a saying that say, if you give a person a fish, you're going to feed them for that day. But if you teach them how to fish, you're going to feed them for a lifetime. So let's teach them. Let's make them independent individuals. You know, sometimes me and Mother Hen, I don't like to, no, he can't do that. No, she can't do that. Well, let them try. Let them, you know, push them out, just like the bird, push them out the nest, let them go and see what they can and can't do. And there are some things, you know, that we think they can't, but they can. So let's teach them to be independent because they're going to go out. They have to go out into the world. They can't sit under us all their lives. So they have to go out and be productive individuals. So let's teach them how to be those individuals. And we have to do things with our children. To be in the house, it's not just enough to be present. You have to be present. I can be in the house, but I can be in one room, they're in another room, Dad's in another room. We're all in different places. So when it's dinner time, when I'm finished with work, that's the time when we're all together. Andre likes to come lay on my leg. Okay, that's fine. He'll tell me I need to shave because of the pricklies, but that's fine. That's his thing. He likes to do that. Soraya, she just likes to, you know, she likes to help. She's a very helpful little girl. So she likes to help. So I allow her to do those things. Even when I want to hurry up and get it done, she's like, can I help? I'm like, oh, slow down. Okay. All right. Yeah, you can help. So we have to do things with our children. And when we recognize gifts and talents in our children, we have to nurture those things. I have a prayer warrior in my house. Like, when I'm in pain, now we don't even have to say it. She'll be like, you want me to get the oil? Yes, get the oil. And she can pray. Like, so those are the things that we have to foster and develop in our children when we recognize them, whatever they are. Even if they're things like football, whatever they are, we recognize those things in our children. We have to foster them. We have to believe in them so that they can believe in themselves. And we also have to take time out with somebody else's child. If you see somebody else's child in the church that needs you because for whatever reason, maybe mom isn't as present. Some kids are here and their parents aren't saved. Some kids come to church and they don't have parents in church. So, you know, that used to be like a real big thing for me because Dwayne is everybody's uncle, daddy, cousin. He's like Kirk Franklin on another scale. Like, it's like, dang, that's your cousin too? So now my thing is it your cousin by marriage or just because you say it's your cousin? So he's always taking time out with other people's children, but if it saves that child's life, if it saves them from a life of whatever is out there, then that moment taken with that child, even though that child is not yours, that time that you've given, you don't know the impact. I know when my grandfather passed away, people were asking for his suits, and I'm like, they didn't know my grandfather like that. Why are they asking for stuff like that? I don't know the impact that he had on their lives. I don't know to what capacity he spoke into their lives. So we have to speak into the lives of other people's children when we see that. And even the life of the parents. Sometimes, you know, parents, you know, we're not born knowing what to do as parents. It's an on-the-job training kind of thing, and each child is different. What I do with one, I can't do with the other. So we have to, you know, if we see somebody else that may be like doing something that's like, that's kind of questionable, say it, but say it in love. Sometimes we think because it's supposed to be said, that we can just go ahead and say it, but there needs to be a time. We need to know when is the right time because we have to know when they're going to be receptive to it. We have to know how to say it. God, give me how to say it so that I'm not offending anyone because I don't want to offend. I want to be a help. So whatever you can say to somebody that's going to be a help to that parent, or even saying, you know what, can I take your child off your hands for a couple of hours so you can enjoy service, whatever it is. Can it come over on the weekend so you can have a little time for yourself, whatever that may be. But as long as you're fostering that child. Hosea 4:6 says, my people perish for a lack of knowledge. And people always say that our children are our future. But I say we are our future because we are the ones teaching them. We are the ones raising them. And if we don't raise them properly, then that's what we have. We have what we've given them. Whatever we've given them, that's what we're going to give back. When you put money in the bank, you put $10 in, and that's all that you got, you can't get 20 out. So if you're gonna raise your children, we have to deposit into them the things that we need for them to grow up to be, to produce in them, to foster in them. Another thing, I don't know, I like sayings and things like that. Frederick Douglass says, it's easier to build strong children than to repair a broken man. It's much easier now while they're malleable, while they're so, while they're able to listen. Our kids are becoming wiser and weaker, as the Bible says. Their mouths are, you say something and they got something to say back, and you almost gotta, jump down the throat to say, this is not a conversation. I'm saying, that's it. It's not a conversation about it. But at the same time, we have to build strong children. I know back in slavery times, if a man had done something wrong, the owner would take him and rip his parts so that his woman could see he's broken. There's nothing he can do for you. Once you get to a point, as a man, when you're broken, it's more difficult to repair that brokenness. So if we begin now molding and making our children and rearing them in the fear and the admonition of God, teaching them to say please and thank you, those are just the common things. Please and thank you, teaching them to be helpful. You see an older woman or something, go ahead, it's okay to help, open the door. It's teaching them now. Those are the things that we need to instill now so that we can have those children grow up to be strong and productive. And our children, too, we need to pray over them. They need to see and hear us praying over them. When they're sleeping, praying over them. Now we have it where the kids are listening to Christian music while they're sleeping. Because sometimes what you fall asleep listening to, it feeds into your psyche. And sometimes you can, when you went to bed and you watched a horror movie, that's going to be running through your mind. So like listening to scriptures and praying, we have to get back into that because they used to pray before they go to bed, but they haven't been doing that. But those are the things that we need to give to our children because those are the good parts. Those are the things that they won't forget. I know that we say, the Bible says when they get old, they won't depart. Sometimes we're going to go out there, we're going to get caught up in some stuff, we're going to do some things, but just like the prodigal son, he came to himself. He realized, oh my God, what have I done? And he came back. So that's our hope, that no matter whatever they get caught up in out there, that before Christ comes back, they'll come to themselves. So it's our responsibility. These are our children, even the children outside of these walls, even children that are not our children. There are certain people that I always see, I'm not a child person, me and kids, I don't know. I think because they think I'm their age, because I'm so short, I don't know what it is, but they just kind of we don't have that kind of thing going on, but there are people like Dwayne, Deandra be tell the child, come on, sit next to me. I can do that. I'm like, go with your mama. You gotta go sit with your mama. People who have that gift, that's a gift. To be able to deal with children, that is truly a gift. That's not anything that you should take lightly. So if that's something that you do, then do it with your whole heart because again, these kids are our future. They're gonna be, I tell my kids all the time, I know which one is gonna take care of me and not put me in a nursing home. And she gets mad because it ain't her. She said, well, okay, just let him do it then. I said, that's my point. I know who's going to take care of it. So we know, we love these kids and let's cherish our relationships with them and let's see in the future what we see them being. I know I want my son to be a football player. I can just see it. I can see me standing on the sidelines with a jersey on. But if that's not what he wants, I'm not going to force it. But with the things that we do see, we need to foster that. We need to help them to grow in that and just show them that we're here for them. Give them that good part. Give them that time, the time that they need to talk, to listen, to do whatever, that discipline, spare that rod. Let's spend time with our children because they are our future. Thank you.
I couldn't have asked for more. I could not have asked for more. And she's right. I started off last year. I asked her. She told me no. I told her I'm going to give you a year to say yes. And I didn't think about anybody else. I waited my year. And I sent her a text message. Okay, the year is up. I need to know before I put my flyer out this morning, will you speak for me? And she said yes. And to me, I see in others